The first three, looking after the body of the Guru, looking after the premises, and preserving the teachings of the Guru, are included in horizontal expansion and are activity-oriented. The last one, putting the teaching into practice, is vertical expansion. Bhagavan, very compassionately, patiently, and silently sat in the ashram 24 hours, giving equal importance to horizontal and vertical expansion. Those who were involved in the activity of preserving the rights of the ashram, printing books, or collecting Bhagavan's teachings might have served only in horizontal expansion. But Bhagavan bestowed upon them too the blessing of vertical expansion, the attainment of the truth. Chinnaswami's life should be seen in the light of these four principles. Chinnaswami assumes great importance because he concentrated exclusively on the first three principles. He was needed because he looked after Bhagavan's body and Bhagavan's needs. Mistakes might have been made. However, a constant 24 hours a day, 7 days a week attention had to be given. In this way, he contributed to the preservation, maintenance, and continued presence of Bhagavan's body for all of us. Secondly, he had to fight to preserve the property of Ramanashramam. It is because of him that we can conveniently stay there now. He also religiously collected Bhagavan's written works. When Bhagavan was up on the hill in Virupaksha cave and Skandashram, most of his writings, which were on small slips of paper, were lost. Bhagavan himself admitted this. After coming to Ramanashramam, under the management of Chinnaswami, not a single word that Bhagavan wrote has been missed. Since Chinnaswami attended very scrupulously to the first three principles and had therefore no time to spend on individual sadhana, Bhagavan bestowed his blessings on him. In his last few days, he expiated for all his mistakes. His body suffered greatly. Then, Bhagavan gave him release. Vishwanatha Swami was witness to this. In his dying moments, Chinnaswami put out his hands happily, and Vishwanatha Swami said, "I could feel it." Bhagavan came and took him and helped him get absorbed in Arunachala. It is perhaps appropriate here to quote what three remarkable devotees of Bhagavan told me about Chinnaswami. This is what S.S. Cohen told me. Chinnaswami joined the Master in 1917 at Skandashram with a view of dedicating his life entirely to the service of Bhagavan. In 1930, he was made the Sarvadhikari of the ashram and managed its temporal affairs. Since then, and until his death in 1953, he worked tirelessly and with exemplary devotion for the welfare of the ashram. This necessarily meant that Chinnaswami had to stand firm and struggle hard to save the ashram's rights during litigations and court cases as well. The present Ramanashramam and all its contents owe their existence entirely to his labor and iron determination. How thrifty he was in the ashram's interest can be judged by his last message given a day before his death to his successor and son T.N. Venkataraman. Chinnaswami said, "I am departing with a clear conscience and clean hands. I have not used a penny from the ashram funds for my own benefit. Everything here belongs to Bhagavan and should be guarded with care and vigilance. Devote yourself heart and soul to the service of Lord Ramana, and in return, I assure you, he will shower his grace on you. Be sincere and truthful to the core of your being. Uphold our revered ancient traditions in the working of this ashram as I have upheld them all my life." This is what Major Chadwick told me, who stayed in the ashram from 1938 until his last days. Without Chinnaswami, there could have never been a Ramanashramam at all. He raised it from a grass hut to an ashram of solid stone. He was full of zest and worked hard and tirelessly. His one joy was to feed the devotees visiting Bhagavan with good and nourishing food. For us ashram residents, he was like the protective metal shield used by soldiers fighting in the battlefield. Therefore, unmindful of the happenings in and around the world, like wars and earthquakes, we plunged into our inner sadhana undisturbed, thereby getting purified day and night in the spiritual presence of Bhagavan. After Arthur Osborne always stayed outside the ashram because he lived with his family. Since Chadwick lived inside the ashram, I felt at that time that as a resident he would probably support the management. So I went to Arthur Osborne for a more objective view. Arthur Osborne told me, "For me there can never be a better management than that of Chinnaswami, for he was my gracious master's Sri Bhagavan's choice." In his devotion to Bhagavan, he did not evaluate Chinnaswami's management. Instead, he went one step further and said, "Since he is my master's choice, my mind does not work on evaluating whether it was good or bad. There simply cannot be a better management for me." With great reverence to Chinnaswami, I want to share some of his unique achievements. Bhagavan's birthplace at Turchuzi is a very sacred place, and it was lost because it was auctioned off. When Chinnaswami became the manager, he took great pains to secure that house and make it a shrine for Bhagavan and his parents to be worshipped. He named it Sundaramandiram, and it is still there in Turchuzi. Another achievement that we cannot forget is that he managed to obtain the house where Bhagavan attained self-realization through his death experience. He struggled hard to buy it and finally converted it into a shrine named Ramana Mandiram. Mandiram means most sacred shrine. Both these places are now pilgrim centers for devotees of Bhagavan to visit. In 50 years, after Bhagavan arrived in Arunachala, Chinnaswami wanted to celebrate the occasion in a grand way. Thousands and thousands of people were fed. Great scholars from all over the world came and paid their tribute to Bhagavan. The best musicians were called in too. Chinnaswami's wish was that Bhagavan should have the best of music, food, and everything because Bhagavan had not moved from Arunachala. Details of these celebrations can be found in letters from Ramanashramam. I was 10 years old at that time and witnessed it all, and I have memories of some of the incidents. Chinnaswami's greatest achievement, according to me, was that on the golden jubilee of Bhagavan coming to Arunachala, he got the temple elephant to bestow the temple honors on Bhagavan. Why the temple elephant? Among all those present on that golden jubilee day, that temple elephant was the only creature that was with Bhagavan when he arrived in Tiruvannamalai. There is a 1,000-pillared hall in the Arunachaleshwara temple where no one used to go because it was dark and frightening. An elephant was tied there, and this is where Bhagavan was seated. At first, many urchins troubled Bhagavan in his meditation. Therefore, he chose this secluded spot. Bhagavan used to say that the elephant was his sole companion in all those months. Chinnaswami, remembering this, brought the elephant to pay its respects.